We were on a course, speeding. A collision was imminent. Completely unaware of the calf golden worship through our fashioned images. A falsehood kept us tossing in the wind, and we would coast this ride and reminisce of the days when bottles laid and we'd party, not even feeling our sin that ravaged to our innocence. What measure of ignorance that we believed we could create an image of God and then make rules and traditions to fit him inside of this sarcophagus we had wrought. As if his blood didn't purchase us lost, hurting and full of faults and high costs. Where wages we so happily worked for were tossed, yet we dove for the wicked in awe. As if holiness could exist in us, as if righteousness was even possible, as if Jireh wouldn't provide for us the very judgment we deserved. It's awful. These rags are stained and left in the caves. The smell filled his nostrils and kindled his rage. He told us our end, and we mocked him instead, when the route to our sentence could have been glory and bread. It's no wonder we have a generation that doesn't believe in or subscribe to a God. They walk around with scaled eyes that they've made badges of pride to their cause, and marching for pride, knowing that wouldn't fly with a God who is just in his judgments of thine. This encounter designed for a flood and a fine, where payment couldn't be offered because death was the dollar sign. You see, we're on a course set for eternal damnation without hope. Since Adam and Eve, we saw what could only be described as mercy and wrath in tow. It raided the garden, prowling for the unholy matron who from gullible tongue spoke. Yet the wrath that hounded her saw what was loved, and so mercy was needed to show. We throw insults at the impenetrable. We war with the undefeated. We excuse sin and foolishness when nations need fall at his feet on their knees. And I believe in the one who believes in the people for whom he lay bleeding. And there are days when I feel his grief, and I wail and travail for the people that walk around their lives unbelieving, because we're strolling along unaware of the dangers that will exist in those pills. The demons that haunt every movie and drink we so casually ingest as a thrill. What kills me is that it killed him. And a sacrifice is mocked for the sake of a laugh, not even getting that torment and fire are awaiting for those that don't resign this path. It's so bad, but the flip side is that those that have followed the plan of salvation that God set in motion, from Eve unto David, a seed of elation, a promise to escape this well-merited fate where sin was broken, because we were on a course, speeding. A fatal collision was imminent. Then the love of a Father who created us all saw that no man could pass by the judgment of law, so he sent a sacrifice. But not just any old sacrifice would fit. See, he needed to send the only one holy. He wrapped himself up in the flesh that'd be ripped, riddled with spit, and his beard hair gripped and torn. Beard hair gripped and torn. He wrapped himself up in the flesh that'd be ripped, riddled with spit, beard hair gripped and torn. I can't even begin to think on it without shedding tears, because I might have been one of the ones in that crowd who jeered as a sovereign and mighty king, happily mocking him as I hand him a vesture. What a scene. It's what I and all of us must first come to accept before we can even begin to understand or acknowledge how mercy made sickening stains clean with blood. We deceive ourselves when we believe our goodness is enough to enter gates where holiness dwells. But the fact is that every attempt at showing goodness is deserving of hell itself. That's the reason when John was ascended to heaven, he wept for one worthy to open the scrolls. He knew that no man ever born of a man was holy enough to come close. But as we've been speeding along, the collision arrived, and it met us as blind, dead bones and been dry. But a covenant formed in the body of flesh, a spotless lamb delivered to die. A veil now torn from the top of its seams, as if a great sword had made its incision. We enter his gates with thanksgiving and praise, 'cause he saved us in a covenant collision with grace. He saved us in a covenant collision with grace. We collided with a covenant tailor-made for sinners that needed to know his name, so I give him thanks, this God, this Jesus of Nazareth, who is God,